Are you ready for Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous? Because I am. Vivisectionst Alchemist starting build. All other subclasses for Alchemist are basically 90% the same. Vivisectionist, he is something else. This, in short, is the Alchemist with sneak attack, so-called evil Alchemist. Melee Alchemist, very similar to rogues. Vivisectionist cannot learn or he can't throw bombs. He keeps mutagen potions only. Is limited to light armor and simple weapons. He can also throw explosive consumables from inventory to deal damage when he's not using bombs. Like he's not using bombs. Drinking mutagens when combat gets harder is the way to go. During campaign, alchemists can also create potions. He loves using trickery to unlock chests and disarm traps. Use magic device to cast spells from scrolls. He has great perception to spot hidden things and traps. And his knowledge and lore are also formidable. Race. Human is the valid candidate here. We need races with dexterity, intelligence, and a bit of constitution to make vivisectionists work. We start with human, then we transfer to other races as well. Background selection. Pickpocket is a solid option here, while Daredevil is probably the best one. Allocate ability points. We will go with 8, 18, 14, 16, 10, and 10. Allocating skill points. We take everything that's green and we move on. Exclude Knowledge World. Feats. We want melee damage, so weapon finesse so we can deal melee damage with dexterity. For our second feat, we'll take dodge. Spells now. Cure light wounds for some healing. Dismiss spell to clear the battlefield from magic. Enlarge to buff your allies. Expeditious retreat so you can run faster. Reduce person to buff or debuff, depends on who you cast. And True Strike so your allies or you can actually hit something since you're a melee now. Deity. Girona is a valid option. Desna 2, Lamassu of course, and Pharasma. Pick what you like. Again, alignment is your choice. It depends on the deity. Other races now. Dhampir, Vampire. Vetala Born is just perfect for Vivisectionist. Daredevil background, 8, 20, 14, 16, 8, 10. We pick all greens for skills, weapon finesse feat. Same deities as for human, apply everything I said for Dhampir. On Kitsune race too, just remember that you want Kin Kitsune. Tiefling race with Hunger Seed Heritage will also do very well for Vivisectionist, and then apply everything else from human. That would be it for Alchemist. Amazing class, extremely easy to learn, very fun to play, so go for it. Last in line of Arcanists is Phantasmal Mage. Funny Arcanist. Only gnomes can become Phantasmal Mages. They're focused heavily on meta magic feats. Knowledge, arcana, and world, lore, religion, and nature, and use magic device is what they like doing the most. We get free cantrips, or better to say 0 level spells, and simple weapons proficiency. Race, we can only play as gnomes. For heritage, we pick base or pyromaniac. If you pick base, you stay away from evocation and from elemental focus fire. If you picked pyromaniac, you will want to have evocation, elemental focus fire, and flaming arc as the arcane exploit. And everywhere where you see fire, you're gonna pick fire, and that's the entire logic with pyromaniac. For this case, just for a showcase, we're gonna pick Pyromaniac. Pyromaniac backgrounds can be Diplomat, Diabolist, or a Scholar. Historian can also do well. We're gonna pick Diabolist. Safest way to play here is 8, 13, 12, 18, 10, and 16. For skill points, we learn everything that's green and we exclude lore religion. Feats, we pick elemental focus fire because we play a pyromaniac after all, and then we're gonna pick flame arc as Arcanist exploit. Spells now, burning hands is fire, we pick it immediately. Ear piercing scream for some long range, retreat to run faster, flare burst for light, mage armor for defense, magic missiles as the best level 1 spell in the game, shocking grasp for some melee damage when they get close. You can easily remove shocking grasp and add summon monster 1 if you want some support for the start. This is a good choice. Deity and alignment doesn't matter that much. You can pick a deity that main domain is fire, for example, or sun, you know. For example, Asmodeus, or you can pick whatever you like. I suggest you go with Asmodeus maybe. Alignment, it's your choice and it heavily depends on deity, so care what you pick. Not all gods are good, some of them are pure evil. Cleric Guide, starting builds. One of my favorite classes in the game. Tons of spells, a lot of different domains. You can play them as tanky supports, squishy supports, fighter supports, necros, fire battle clerics, necro battle clerics. Options are limitless here. Let's pick the best ones available and showcase them in this guide. Angelfire Apostle Cleric starting build. Knowledge of Arcana and World, Persuasion, and Lore Religion are skills that Clerics likes the most. This subclass is proficient with shields and light armor. Channel Positive Energy is classic here, AoE heal for the entire team. Wisdom is the most important attribute for all Clerics. Race. Human and Dwarf are the best option for Clerics. Aasimars, Half-Elves, they're also valid. Dhampirs are great as necro clerics, while Orid race is good for poison acid clerics. We start with classic human, then we will pass through all races. Background selection. Noble Emissary is a solid option here. Oblate, Acolyte, Regional, Andoran Diplomat, Gibeon Necromancer, Mendavian Orphan, Nexian Scholar, Osiron Historian. The entire Scholar branch is also valid too. So, let's pick Noble Emissary for this guide. I repeat, everything I said is a solid choice. Allocating ability points, attributes. Safest way to play is 12, 12, 12, 12, 20, and 10. Of course, all of this depends on the type of a cleric and his spells too. For playing a tank cleric, your main focus will be Constitution and Wisdom, for example. For range, support cleric, dexterity and wisdom. For bruiser cleric, it will be strength and wisdom, and so on. Skills, allocating skill points, just pick greens and off we go. Feats, again it varies, clerics are tricky, you need endurance, toughness, you'll need spell focus. If you want to deal damage from afar, like a mage, you'll get evocation. If you want to buff your team, you'll get divination, enchantments, and so on. For this subclass, we will take Divination and Enchantment. Deity. Asmodeus, Zonkuton, Torag, they're the best options for clerics, but to be honest, everything is valid. Again, there are a lot of cleric types. Try to stick with the weapon you want to play with when you pick your deity. Same goes with alignment, it's your choice. Domains. This is what I was talking about at the start. It's complicated. Million types of cleric. Fire domain will cast fire-based skills, flame strikes, and so on. For human Angelfire Apostle, we will take Aura of Efficiency in Artifice domain so we can buff our entire team. Dwarf Angelfire Apostle Clerics now. Barrow Dwarf is just great. Take him as a cleric. Everything else you'll copy from the human build. Dhampir, Vampire, Angelfire, Apostle Cleric. Man, the name. Nosferatu Born, Ancient Born is the way to go here. For the background, we'll go with regional Gibeon Necromancer. Attributes will be 14, 12, 12, 10, 20, and 9. For skills, we'll pick Lore, Religion, and Persuasion. For feats, we're gonna pick Spell Focus, Necromancy. Zone Kuton will be our deity. Domains, they're all good, but I like Destruction Domain the most here for our Dhampir, Vampire, Angelfire, Apostle, Necro, Regional, Gibeon, Zone Kuton, Cleric. Repeat that if you can. This game is crazy. Whatever domain you decide to pick, you won't be wrong. Last in line is Orid, Angelfire, Apostle. We'll pick Classic Orid for Heritage, Noble Emissary for background. Attributes will be 16, 10, 16, 10, 18, and 8. We take Lore and Persuasion for skill points. Enchantment or Divination spell focus in feats. For domain, Lamatsu with Strength domain is very solid. Gozrech, Plant domain, and Gorum, War domain are also worth to consider here. Alignment is your choice, pick whatever you like. Mutation Warrior Fighter starting build. They are proficient with Athletics, Lord Nature, Knowledge World and Persuasion, as well as with all type of weapons and armor. Why Mutation Warrior? Because they use mutagens like alchemists. They can enhance strength, dexterity, or get feral wings later on, auto heal, and so on. It's a warrior fighter that relies on drinking mutagen potions, like a witcher, but without signs. Races: Human, Dwarf, Dhampir, Aasimar, Half-Orcs, Half-Elves, they're all valid choices. We can start with a human. Background selection: all from Craftsmen will work here. Regional, River Kingdoms, Daredevil is a good choice. Shackle Corsair Stew, Warrior of Linorm Kings is also good. If I had to pick one, it would be Warrior of Linorm Kings. Ability points: 18, 14, 16, 10, 10, and 10 for all difficulties. For unfair, it's who bursts first, so we'll need to maximize strength on 20. Skill points now. Just stick with greens: Persuasion, Athletics, and Mobility. For the last point, we can go with Knowledge World. Feats: stay away from weapon proficiencies and weapon focus until you decide what weapon you wanna play with. Same applies for armor. We don't know if we wanna play with light, medium, or heavy armor. What you can get is Die Hard, Dodge, Endurance, all of those beautiful team feats like Precise Strike and Shake It Off, Iron Veil, Lightning Reflexes, Toughness, everything is valid. Pick what you like. My suggestion, if you got more Precise Strikes in your team, in your party members, just go for that and for Shake It Off and you're good to go. For bonus combat feat, we can easily go with Endurance and we're done. Deity: Asmodeus, Gorum, Yomedea, Rovagug, Shailin, Torag, and Zon Kuton are the deities you're looking for. They're all good choices. For alignment, pick what you think suits you the best. Good, evil, doesn't matter. Dwarves now. All three here are valid options for dwarves, and I believe that Unstoppable Dwarf is the way to go. 18, 12, 18, 10, 9, 8 would be ability points, with Persuasion, Athletics, and Mobility for skill points. Apply feats, order, deity from Human, Mutation Warrior. Dhampirs now. Dhampirs. Jiangshi born Rushi is the heritage we want here, with Warrior of Linorm Kings as a background, and 18, 12, 16, 12, 10, and 10 for ability points. After you're done with that, you apply everything else from Human, Mutation Warrior. For Half-Elves and Half-Orcs, we will stick with base Half-Elves and Half-Orcs, and we're gonna apply everything from Human, Mutation Warrior. Aasimars, Angelkin, and Lawbringer is the way to go. Pick what you like more if you wanna play with Aasimars. Apply everything else after it from Mutation Warrior Human build. Bloodrager starting build. Low defense, high attack with low amount of self-buffing spells. Bloodragers are basically barbarians with unique bloodlines from different type of monsters. Bloodrider Bloodrager starting build. This subclass thrives on mounted combat. It's the speciality of Bloodriders. Mobility, athletics, persuasion, perception, lore nature and knowledge arcana are skills that Bloodragers are most comfortable with. Bloodline will give different boosts when leveling up on certain levels. They're proficient with all types of weapon and armor if we exclude exotics and heavy stuff. Races, we're looking for high strength, solid constitution and a bit of charisma for Bloodragers. So, humans are classic, half-orcs are solid too, Aasimars are great Bloodragers, Dhampirs are also fine. We start with human, then we switch to other races as well. Background selection. Wanderer Nomad is a solid option. Everything from Craftsman can work well. Regional Diplomat is solid, Daredevil, Shackles and Lenorm King are all valid. We will take Daredevil for this guy. Allocating ability points. 18, 11, 16, 12, 10 and 12 is the way to go. Allocating skill points. We're gonna take all greens and we're gonna exclude Knowledge Arcana only. Feats. There are at least 10 good starting feats. Your choice what you want for the start. I'll show them up right now. Alertness, Blind Fight, Die Hard, Endurance, Extra Blood Rage, Fortitude, Initiative, Will, Intimidating Prowess, Mounted Combat, Power Attack, Toughness. Now we add team feats like Shake It Off and weapon proficiencies later on, and you got your hands full with solid starting feats. For this Bloodrider, we will take Mounted Combat and Toughness. Bloodline specific to Bloodragers. All bloodlines are absolutely great. I like benefits from Celestial a lot, with a tight second spot for Abyssal and Infernal. Amazing bloodlines here, all of them. We're gonna pick Celestial. Deity and alignment do not matter at all, pick whatever you like the most. Other races now. Half-Orc. We stick with base Half-Orc and we apply everything from Human Bloodrager. The only thing you can change is Bloodline. Switch Celestial for Infernal or Abyssal here. Aasimars. For Angel Kin Aasimars, take Celestial Bloodline and copy everything else from Human. For Idil Kin Aasimars, pick between Green Dragon, Serpentine or Arcane Bloodline, then copy everything else from Human. Dhampir, Moroi Born is the way to go. Sweatosher. For Bloodline, you'll pick Undead Bloodline. Copy everything else from Human build and you're good to go. Cavalier starting builds. Cavalier is a melee class mostly with huge focus on his animal companion that can level up along with him. You'll be able to pick different orders with Cavaliers to gain advantage on a battlefield. Cavaliers are leaders on the battlefield that transfer team feats to their party members. Beast Rider Cavalier starting build. This is a beast riding melee class. Persuasion, athletics and mobility are skills Cavaliers like the most. They're proficient with all weapons and armor in the game if we exclude heavy stuff. Races: Human, Dwarf, Half-Elf, Half-Orc, Aasimars, Tieflings, Dhampirs, they're all good choice for Cavaliers. We start with Human race and we cover other races later on. Background selection. There are 4 options to pick from. Here, Wanderer Nomad and Original, Daredevil, Lenorm King and Shackles Corsair. I will go with Wanderer Nomad. You're not wrong if you pick something out of those 3 left. Allocating ability points. 18, 12, 18, 8, 8, and 10 is the way to go. Skills, just stick with greens. If you don't like mobility, switch it for persuasion. Feats, a lot of great feats for this subclass. I'll make a list of the best ones to take. Blind Fight, Coordinated Defense, Coordinated Maneuvers, Die Hard, Endurance, Fortitude, Will, Reflex, Intimidating Prowess, Mounted Combat, Power Attack, Shake It Off, Toughness. For this build we will pick Endurance and Will, cause we lost Will when we risked with attribute points. Order. Order of the Sword is the way to go for this subclass cause of the mounted mastery feats. It's a Beast Rider after all. Tactician bonus feat, we're gonna open it up with Shake It Off. Animal Companion is your choice, you can't go wrong with this. If I had to pick one, I would go for a classic horse. We mount him and we stomp everything on our pet. Deity, everything works here, it's your choice, it won't change anything. It will just give you alignment whether you're good or evil. Other races now. Dwarves, half-elves, half-orcs. What we're gonna pick there is base and we copy everything else from human. Aasimar, only valid choice would be Idilkin and we copy everything else from human. Tiefling, we can pick regular Tiefling and one of the resists that comes with a subclass. Dhampir, Vampire, Kingborn, Sacred Ancestry is the way to go here, then copy everything else from human. Defender of the True World Druid starting build. This Druid deals more damage to Fae. He can become support Cleric Druid or take an Animal Companion. They're proficient with all armor types except heavy stuff. Skills the Druid like the most are Knowledge Arcana and World, Perception, Athletics, and of course Lore Nature. Races, Human, Elf, Dwarf, Half-Elf, Aasimar, Dhampir, they're all valid choices for Druid. We open with Human, then we transfer to other races as well. Background, Wanderer Nomad, Wanderer Hermit, Oblate Acolyte, Andoran Diplomat, Nexian Scholar, Historian, Gibeon Necromancer, all of that is valid here. For this case, if you plan to play with Animal Companion, you'll take Nomad. If you plan to play as Cleric Druid, you'll take Oblate Acolyte. Allocating ability points, 10, 10, 14, 13, 20, and 10. Allocating skill points. Athletics, Knowledge World, Lore Nature, Perception, or Persuasion. What we can do here, we can remove Knowledge World and add Persuasion. And we play like this. If you have companions in your team that have huge Perception, then you can go like this. Feats, we're gonna take Warrior Priest and Spell Focus Transmutation. Bond, I already explained how it works, so now you get to pick between Companion and Domain. If you decided to go with Oblate, then you pick some of these domains, alright? Plant Domain is probably the best one for this Druid, although everything will work. In this case, since we picked Nomad, we're gonna go with Animal Companion and pick something of your liking. What I like the most to see here from these stats is Natural Armor to be at maximum, and this is the highest so far on a board. Deity is your choice, pick whatever you like. This is Defender of the True World, so I guess something good-natured, lawful good, chaotic good, neutral good should come in mind when you pick Deity. Other races now. For Elf and Dwarf and Half-Elf, we're gonna stick with base versions and we just copy everything from Human. Regular Aasimar, Lawbringer, and Plume-Kit are good choices for Aasimar here. After that, we copy everything from Human. Dhampir, Nosferatu-born is the way to go. He makes an excellent Druid, but I also believe that only Necromancy will work well with him. But it doesn't hurt to try. Tactical Leader Inquisitor starting build. Classic leader, support, if not the best Inquisitor subclass there is. Empowering weapons, judgment skills and spells, and focusing on team feats is what all Inquisitors like the most. They are proficient with simple weapons, light and medium armor, as well as shields. They can cast Horizons, or better to say, 0 level spells for free. They're great at conversations with intimidation and persuasion. Inquisitors excel at dealing damage to the sworn enemies, which functions similarly to Hunter's Mark. Race. We're searching for high wisdom for all Inquisitors. After that, it's your choice if you want to go with melee or ranged. Go with strength, it's gonna be melee. You go with dexterity, it's gonna be ranged. You can also go with weapon finesse in feats to transfer dexterity into scaling with melee weapons. Human, half-elf, Aasimar, Dhampir, Tiefling, all of those races make for a solid Inquisitor. We start with human, then we transfer to other races as well. Background. Wanderer Hunter. Everything from Craftsman and Noble is valid. Nearly the entire original branch will also work for Inquisitors. Inquisitors are extremely versatile class. In this case we will take Oblate Acolyte because we want to succeed in conversations and we transfer our wisdom to scale with persuasion like this. Allocating ability points. 16, 12, 16, 12, 16 and 7 is the way to go for melee. For ranged, 8, 16, 12, 12, 20 and 7. Allocating skill points. Athletics, mobility, trickery, lore religion, perception and persuasion is the way to go. If you don't like lore religion, switch it for knowledge world. Toughness, persuasion, mounted combat, reflexes, intimidating prowess, initiative, fortitude, endurance, die hard, blind fight, and of course almost all team feats will work for Inquisitors. If we go with range, then it's point blank shot. If we go with dexterity base, then it's weapon finesse. If you want to go with melee, dexterity base. In this case, for this Inquisitor, we will take intimidating prowess and persuasive. This is a leader, tactical leader Inquisitor. So we want to maximize those conversation options, and intimidating prowess and persuasive will provide just that. Picking deity. Those that give glory domain, luck domain, knowledge domain are the way to go. You are playing a leader, remember that when picking domains. For this case we will pick Yomedea with glory domain. Spells. Bless and Divine Favor are absolutely the best here. Do not skip them. Picking alignment, this is your choice, pick what you like more. Other races for Tactical Leader Inquisitor now. Half-elves. We take Persuasion, and we stick with base, Racial Heritage. Aasimars, base, Lawbringer and Plume Kit are all valid options. Lawbringer for melee, Plume Kit for ranged Inquisitor. Then you copy the entire build from human after this. Dhampir, Vampire, Nosferatu Born, Ancient Born is a great option for the melee Inquisitor. Copy everything else from human build after this point. Tiefling, Hellspawn, Hunger Seed, Motherless, all great options for Inquisitor. Falspawn can work for ranged Inquisitor. After that, we copy everything from human build. Overwhelming Soul Kineticist starting build. Hardest class in the game to master. Masters of elemental damage, they can sacrifice their own health to empower spells, decide the range or area of effect. Kinetic Blasts are their favorite spells. If I have to explain what they are, in CRPGs they're most similar to Warlocks from Neverwinter Nights 2, for example. The subclass is using Charisma instead of Constitution as the main stat, and she doesn't receive penalties when casting spells, but her spells don't hurt as much as other subclasses. It's the safe way to play Kineticist, in other words, without worrying about penalties. Race. We search races with high Charisma and Dexterity this time. Human, Halfling, Aasimar, Tiefling, Dhampir are valid options. We start with Human, then we transfer to others as well. Background selection. Warrior Guard, Wanderer Hunter, Regional Diplomat, Diabolist. All of them are valid options. For this build, we pick Wanderer Hunter because of weapon proficiencies. Allocating ability points. 7, 16, 16, 13, 7 and 18 is the way to go for this subclass. Allocating skill points. Mobility, Perception, Persuasion and use Magic Device. Feats. Point blank shot into precise shot is the way to go. Elemental focus. Everything is valid, but we will pick fire just for the showcase. Burning, Infusion or Fan of Flames for elemental focus. Fire is the way to go. The deity we're gonna pick is Erastiel. Alignment is your choice, pick what you like the most. Other races as Kineticist, Overwhelming Soul now. Halfling. Stick with base and then apply everything from Human. Aasimar, Idilkin and Muse Touched are the way to go here. I would go with a Muse Touched. Tiefling, Beast Brood and Shackleborn are valid options, then copy everything from Human build. Dhampir. Dhampir Heritage, Classic Dhampir is the way to go. After that we copy everything from Human. Martyr Paladin starting build. Healing, bolstering allies, and huge damage against evil is what most paladins are proficient at. One of my favorite classes, not only in Pathfinder, but in all CRPGs in gaming history. They are proficient with all weapons and armor, including heavy stuff, of course. We got a very cool subclass here, a mini bard paladin. Imagine how many AoE buffs you can get with a classic paladin, and now add bard and his songs on top of it all. This paladin is a living, walking aura for the entire team. All undead and evil creatures hate paladins for a reason. Most of paladin healing spells will hurt them a lot. Almost all paladins need to remain as lawful good or they will stop receiving levels. Choosing race, we need high strength, constitution and charisma. So Human, Half-Elf, Aasimar and Tiefling are all valid options here. Background selection. Wanderer Nomad, Diplomat, Historian, Daredevil, Sheckless Corsair and Linorm Kings, and the entire Craftsman branch will be just fine for a Paladin. We're gonna go with Craftsman Smith because we want athletics. Allocating ability points. 16, 10, 16, 12, 8 and 16 is the way to go. Allocating skill points. Athletics, Knowledge World, Lore, Religion and Persuasion is what we want for a Paladin. Feats. This is a Martyr, a Bard, mini Bard, so you want to play safe, or better to say stay alive, which means sword and board. Leave weapon focus for later on because you can't be sure what weapon you want to play with. A lot of good feats on this paladin, including some bard feats like Lingering Performance are required. So we can get armor focus heavy, coordinated defense, coordinated maneuvers, die hard, endurance, fortitude, reflex, will, intimidating prowess, persuasive, power attack, shake it off, shield wall, toughness, tower shield proficiency. All of those feats are absolutely great on a Martyr Paladin. We can open up our Martyr Paladin with toughness and heavy armor focus. No matter what deity you pick, you're always gonna end up as lawful good. I would pick Torag. Other races now as Martyr Paladin. Half-Elf, we take Persuasion, we stick with base, and then we copy everything from human. Aasimars, we pick Angelkin or Idilkin for this Paladin, and then we copy everything else from human build. Tiefling, we want Pitborn or Shackleborn, and then we copy it all from human build. Quarterstaff Monk, starting build. Monks are using Chi for their special attacks and spells. Monks hate wearing armor, you're playing naked to be more precise. All monks are proficient with bare fist fighting and with monks' weapon proficiencies, quarterstaffs, nunchakus, sais, kamas, and similar strange weapons. Most of them are using wisdom as primary stat. Monk is a very fast, evasive, durable, and reliable class. As the name suggests, for this subclass we should stick with a stick, or better to say, a quarterstaff. Choosing race, we need high wisdom and solid strength, dexterity, and constitution for monks. Basically we need it all. It's hard to balance this class out, they're very weak at the first few levels and crazy good from level 10 and onwards. Have that in mind when playing monks, prepare to suffer in the start. Human, dwarf, half-elf, Aasimar, tiefling, Orid, and Dhampir are all valid options for a monk. Dwarves and Orid are the best options to take for sure, but frankly, everything is valid. We take human for the start and then we focus to other races as well. Background selection: Oblate Acolyte, Shackless Corsair, Daredevil, and Linorm Kings are valid options. We're gonna take Oblate Acolyte for this subclass. Allocating ability points: 16, 14, 16, 7, 16, and 9 is the way to go. Allocating skill points: Athletics, Mobility, and Persuasion here. Feats: Weapon Focus for Quarterstaff is what we want first. Great feats to take on a monk are Power Attack, Blind Fight, Combat Reflexes, Dazzling Display, Die Hard, Dodge, Endurance, Fortitude Reflex, Will, Initiative, Persuasive, Precise Strikes, Shake It Off, and Toughness. You want to take Dazzling Display, Dodge, Toughness, Precise Strike, and Shake It Off as fast as you can. For our second feat, we're gonna take Dazzling Display. Monk bonus feat, we're gonna take Dodge or Improved Initiative here. Since we started with offense, we will take Initiative. Picking deity, Netis and Irori are solid options, pick what you like more. Same applies for alignment. Other races as Quarterstaff Monk now. Dwarf and Half-Elf, we will stick with base versions, and then we're gonna copy everything there is from human. Aasimars, we can take Lawbringer and Plume Kit, and then we copy it all from human. Tieflings, we can take Falspawn, Foulspawn, Hellspawn, Hunger Seed, or Motherless, and then we copy everything else from human. Orid, both base version and Iron Soul will work here as a monk. Pick what you like more, then copy everything from human build. Dhampir, only Nosferatu Born will work here, then we copy it all from human. Eldritch Scoundrel Rogue, starting build, sneaking, spotting traps and hidden things, disarming and unlocking, backstabs, sneak attacks, huge crits is what rogues like doing the most. I just can't even imagine playing a single CRPG without a rogue in my team. They are proficient with simple weapons. Eldritch Scoundrel subclass is basically a mini mage rogue. We can play him as ranged or melee. Complicating subclass, but extremely versatile and fun to play. He will receive Scribe Scrolls and 0 level spells, or better to say cantrips, for free. Race, we are searching for high dexterity and solid intelligence for this subclass. Human, Elf, Halfling, Half-Elf, Tiefling, Dhampir, Kitsune are all valid choices. Extremely good race for Eldritch Scoundrel are Tieflings, Dhampirs, and Kitsunes. More about that later. We start with human and then we transfer to other races as well. Background selection. Street Urchin, Pickpocket, the entire warrior branch, everything works great here. What I believe is the best here is to acquire light armor proficiency, so warrior guard is the way to go. Allocating ability points: 7, 18, 12, 18, 10, and 10. Allocating skill points. We're gonna take mobility, trickery, stealth, perception, persuasion, and use magic device. Feats. We need to decide if we want to play with one weapon or dual wielding here. Since we have weapon finesse for free, we go with dual wield. For this showcase, we will open with Arcane Strike into 2 weapon fighting proficiency. Great feats to take on Eldritch Scoundrel Rogue are Alertness, Blind Fight, Combat Reflexes, Combat Casting, Deft Hands, Dodge, Improved Initiative, Lightning Reflexes, Piranha Strike, and of course 2 weapon fighting if you decide to go with dual wielding. If you decide to go, I don't know, with ranged, all you need to do is to take point blank shot and you're good to go. Your weapon focus once you level up should remain on daggers or kukris or any kind of huge crit chance weapon. Choosing spells now. Since this is a mage rogue, mage-like rogue, we want high utility spells. So Vanish for invisibility, True Strike so we can actually hit something, Summon Monster for some support utility, Stunning Barrier for some defense, Shield for some extra defense, Magic Missiles as the best early spell in the game, and Expeditious Retreat so we can run faster. Deity. Desna, Girona, Lamastio, Norgober, Pharasma, they're all valid options here. We're gonna take Pharasma in this case, since Pharasma can be neutral and both good and evil. Your choice what you wanna take. Other races as Eldritch Scoundrel Rogue now. Elves, Half-Elves, and Halflings. We just stick with their base versions and then we copy the entire human build. Tiefling, Grimspawn, and base Tiefling are the only options here, and then we copy it all from human build. Dhampir, Vetalaborn is the only valid option here. We pick that for our Eldritch Scoundrel, and then we copy everything from human. Kitsune. Kin Kitsune is absolutely monstrous great for Eldritch Scoundrel. If you decide to play as a cat, you go with a human build and all you need to do is apply Kin Kitsune Heritage. Battle Singer Skald, starting build. Skards are a weird class, they sing songs like bards and they rage like barbarians. They receive huge buffs and huge penalties while raging and singing that can affect the entire team and all enemies combined. If you plan to play with all physical damage team without casters, they're extremely strong because of their rage will spread to the entire party. Unraged characters won't be able to use spells, so that's a huge penalty. No freaking wizard, mages, druids, shamans, sorcerers and similar bullshit here. It's all in bolstering allies and transferring team feats with this subclass. So, what is a Battle Singer? It's a barbarian bard that sings so loud the enemies' ears will bleed until they die. Jokes aside. It's a subclass of Skald with sonic damage spells. This subclass is proficient in knowledge world checks and persuasion. This subclass is also proficient with all simple and martial weapons as well as light and medium armor. Using race, we are searching for high strength and solid constitution and charisma for this subclass. Human, half-elf, half-orc, Aasimars, Tieflings, Orids, Dhampirs, they're all valid options here. We go with human, then we transfer to other races as well. Background selection: Regional Andoran Diplomat, Diabolist, Historian, Daredevil, Sheckless Corsair, Linorm Kings, they're all valid options here. We're going with Historian for this subclass. Allocating ability points: 17, 13, 15, 10, 8, and 16 is the way to go. Allocating skill points: Athletics, Knowledge World, Persuasion, and use Magic Device is the way to go. Feats: you can play with Weapon and Shield, Dual Wielding, or huge two-handed weapon. If you decide to go with Dual Wield, you switch Strength for Dexterity points here, you go with Weapon Finesse and you're good to go. If you decided to go with Weapon and Shield or huge two-handed weapon, you leave these attributes like they are here. For this showcase, we're gonna stick with a two-handed weapon. All team feats like Precise Strike, Coordinated Defense, Maneuvers, Shake It Off, they're great to acquire. Very good feats to acquire here are also Persuasive, Iron Will, Lightning Reflexes, great Fortitude, Improved Initiative, Intimidating Prowess is great, Dodge, and so on. We're gonna open with Die Hard and Toughness. For Skald bonus feat, we can open up with Combat Casting. Valid options are also Spell Focus Transmutation and Spell Focus Conjuration. Choosing spells: Cure Light Wounds for some early healing and Summon Monster 1 for some early support. Deity and Alignment, they're completely your choice. I would go with Gorum or something like that, something that is versatile, that can be good, neutral or evil, your choice what you want to play with. Other races now as Battle Singer Skald. For half-elves and half-orcs, we're gonna stick with base versions and then we copy the entire human build. For Aasimars, Angelkin and Idilkin are great here, they're valid options. Then we copy it all from human build. For Tieflings, Speedborn, Shackleborn, and Spitespawn is the way to go, and then we're gonna copy everything from human build. Orid, only Gem Soul applies for this role, and then we copy everything from human build. Dhampir, only Moroi-born Svetosher is good for this role of Battle Singer, and then we're gonna copy everything from human build. The only thing you need to change is Cure Light Wounds into some Necromancy spell. Crossblooded Sorcerer, starting build. Sorcerers are mages with different bloodlines. Bloodlines provide different spells as you level up. They are proficient with light weapons and you should forget about wearing armor with this subclass. They can detect magic and they're also able to cast 0-level spells, or better to say cantrips. This subclass is capable of having two bloodlines at the same time, or in other words, tons of different spells. This is, if not the most complicated class that exists in the game. This is in top 5 most complicated subclasses in the game. Complicated to play subclasses in the game. So let's start. Choosing race. All we care about is huge charisma here and solid dexterity. A lot of races apply for the role. Human, gnome, halfling, half-elf, Aasimars, Tieflings, Dhampirs, they're all valid. Out of all classes here, Aasimars is definitely the best way to play this, but we're gonna stick with human and then we transfer to other races as well. Background selection. I only see regional Nexian Scholar as the valid option here. Allocating ability points, this is very easy: 8, 16, 10, 10, 10, and 20. Allocating skill points: Knowledge Arcana, Persuasion, and use Magic Device. Feats. I guess you want to hurt, but there's so many options here. For this showcase, we're gonna go with Evocation, Spell Focus, Evocation, into Greater Spell Focus, Evocation. Good feats to acquire are Spell Penetration, Combat Casting, Allied Spellcaster, Elemental Focus into specific element. Fire, Acid, Electricity, it depends what type of damage you want to deal with. More about that later on. Choosing Bloodline. Here we are, the most complicated thing in the game. a lot of options. If you went with Elemental Focus Fire here instead of Evocation, then you should take Elemental Bloodline Fire. If you went with Elemental Focus Cold here, then you should take Elemental Bloodline Water, and so on. That's how it works. If you went with High Charisma with Solid Strength and Constitution, then all Dragon Bloodlines will work here. They're all valid. A valid choice for that option would also be Abyssal Bloodline. If you went into Spell Focus, Transmutation and Conjuration instead of Evocation, then Fey or Serpentine Bloodline should be the way to go. If you went with Spell Focus Necromancy into Greater Spell Focus Necromancy, then Undead Bloodline should be the way to go. If you went with Evil Tiefling Sorcerer, for example, into Evocation and Fire Element, then Infernal Bloodline is the way to go. For Classic Sorcerer, a mix of all with focus on Evocation, Divination, Abjuration, it would be Celestial Bloodline or Arcane Bloodline. I really hope I made clear how this all works. It depends heavily on feats, or better to say, on spell penetration, on spell focus into specific element, on elemental focus, on greater spell focus. Be careful what you pick. I can showcase one build, but really options here are limitless, and it's extremely important that you know the basic core rules of how Sorcerer works, because it's gonna get even more complicated now. For this case, we're gonna go with Arcane Bloodline. For special feat, we're gonna take Spell Penetration. When I said it's gonna be more complicated, I wasn't kidding at all, so now we pick a secondary bloodline. We need to merge the primary bloodline with the secondary bloodline. So what merges with what? The best thing that merges with our Arcane bloodline is Celestial bloodline. And we're gonna pick Celestial, but let me showcase all possibilities. Bloodlines that merge well together are Abyssal bloodline with all Dragons bloodline, Dragons with Dragons, Celestial bloodline with Elementals bloodline. Again, it all depends here on elemental focus, what type of elemental bloodline you'll take. Celestial with Arcane, we're playing that right now. Arcane bloodline with Elementals. Undead bloodline with Arcane bloodline. Undead with Infernal. Undead bloodline with Serpentine bloodline. Serpentine bloodline with Fey bloodline. Elementals with Dragon bloodline, all dragons. Undead with Abyssal. What you want to pay attention is to trigger the right dragon and merge it with Elemental. This is also a huge trick. So, classic, one of the classic examples is, let's take Elemental Bloodline Fire, and then we want to merge it with a dragon. The only dragons you can merge fire with are a red and golden dragon. For Elemental Bloodline Water, for example, you will merge it with a blue dragon, and so on. That's how it works. Man, I hate doing builds and guides for this subclass. There are so many things to say, and I want to keep it as simple and straightforward as possible. And of course, it's not the end, there's more. Arcane Bond now. For advanced players, it should always be with an object. Beginners, take the pet you like the most. I would go with Hare here, because of the initiative. Bloodline class skill selection. Knowledge World is what we want here. Our Knowledge World will be huge now, because of skill focus into class skill selection bloodline focus. Choosing spells. We can only pick one. Care not to take spells that you already received through your bloodlines. We got two different bloodlines here. Check what spells you get on both bloodlines. For example, on level 3 we will get magic missiles from Arcane bloodline, which means we do not take magic missiles as it's the best early spell that you can take early on. What we're gonna take here is some early support to survive until level 3, and that's gonna be Summon Monster 1. Deity and Alignment. I would go with Netis here, but really it's your choice. It won't change much. Same applies to Alignment. Alignment will switch towards Deity you've chosen. Other races now as Crossblooded Sorcerer. For Gnome, Halfling and Half-Elf, we're gonna stick with base versions and we're gonna copy the entire human build. For Gnome, Pyromaniac is just great for this subclass, but you will need to take Golden or Red Dragon with Elemental Focus Fire in feats for this to work. Aasimars now. We can play as base Aasimar, Emberkin, Idilkin, or Muse Touched. Idilkin is if you take Conjuration here instead of Evocation, aka we're gonna summon stuff. Muse Touch are base and they're versatile. You can take whatever the hell you like. Emberkin is just straight broken, functions similarly to Gnome Pyromaniac, but it has better overall stats. My suggestion is if you wanna play something, you're gonna play this as a Cross-Blooded Sorcerer. Emberkin, Peri-Blooded, Aasimar, Sorcerer, Evocation, Greater Evocation, into Elemental Focus Fire, into Arcane Bloodline, and let's say Dragon Red or Dragon Gold or Elemental Fire Bloodline. Your choice. Tiefling, Beastbrood, Shackleborn, and Spitespawn are all valid options here. Pick what you like and then copy everything from human build. Dhampir, base Dhampir here only, and then we copy it all from human build. But what's gonna change? You can play him as Evocation, okay, Evocation into greater spell focus Evocation, but I would really suggest to go with Spell Focus Necromancy, into Greater Spell Focus Necromancy, into Death Bloodline, into, let's say, Abyssal or Infernal Bloodline for the secondary bloodline. That would be the build for Dhampir, because he's undead. And all of those spells and bloodlines will merge together phenomenally here, but it changes the build of the Cross-Blooded Sorcerer entirely. As I said, the most complicated subclass to explain. I really hope that this build will help you into deciding of how you want to play this. One thing is sure, you're gonna have a lot of things to do and it's gonna be a lot of fun, but there is no place for mistakes at all when you start playing this. Champion of the Fate Warpriest, starting build. Warpriests are all around combo of multiple classes. Think of them as battle clerics maybe. They're fast self-buffers, team buffers, tanks, damage dealers, healers, and they're perfectionists into dealing damage with one weapon of choice. Warpriests are proficient with all weapons and armor, including the heaviest things in the game. This subclass will be able to choose his alignment and will deal more damage to opposite alignment in return. If you are low, you'll deal more damage to chaos. If you're good, you'll deal more damage to evil, and so on. All Warpriests will receive certain blessings on level 1 and 10. Blessings will change as you change your deity. It's extremely important to wield a weapon specific to deity, because that's how Warpriests deal damage. So care what you pick, they care what god you'll choose for them. Choosing race. We're searching for good strength, constitution and wisdom. Human, dwarf, half-elf, half-orc, Aasimars, tieflings, Dhampirs, Orids, they're all valid options here. We start with human, then we switch to other races as well. Background selection. Daredevil, Sheckless Corsair, Linorm Kings, Diplomat in Regional, and Oblate Acolyte are valid options here. We're gonna go with Oblate Acolyte. Allocating ability points. 17, 13, 16, 10, 14 and 10 is the proper way to play this. Allocating skill points. We're gonna take Athletics, Lore, Religion and Persuasion. Feats. Great feats to take are Focus on heavy or medium armor, depends what type of armor you wanna play in. Blind Fight, Coordinated Defense, Coordinated Maneuvers, Dazzling Display. Dazzling Display is actually phenomenal. defensive combat training, die hard, dodge, endurance, great fortitude, iron will, improved initiative, intimidating prowess is also freaking great, persuasion, precise strikes, shake it off, toughness, warrior priest. We're gonna take toughness and warrior priest for the start. Deity. Valid and best options for deity are Gorum, then we pick weapon focus on greatsword. Gozreh, then we pick weapon focus on trident. Iomedea, then we pick weapon focus on longswords. Netis, then we pick weapon focus on quarterstaffs. Rovagug, then we pick weapon focus on great axe. Shaylin, then we pick weapon focus on glaives. Toreg, then we pick warhammer weapon focus. Urgatoa, we pick skith as weapon focus. Zonkuton, we pick flail as weapon focus. That's how this works. You need to pick the weapon of your deity. For this showcase, we will pick Gorum into greatsword. Again, this is the most important thing when you want to play a warpriest. Spontaneous casting, we're gonna pick spontaneous cure. Now here we are at specific weapons. Since we picked Gorum, we're gonna pick greatsword. I mean, it's a must, not we gonna need or we should, it's a must. It heavily depends on deity, I already explained that. Pick a greatsword. Choosing alignment. We can pick between chaotic, evil, good and lawful. For this build, we're gonna pick good. I'll explain why just a tad bit later. Here we are at blessings, the most complicated thing for warpriests. This is why we picked good alignment. We want strength here. When you pick some other alignment, the rest of them will become available, but this will not be available. We want strength for this build because it gives a lot of good things. Good blessings to have, and I repeat again, it will depend on your deity and alignment. For example, playing an evil vampire, you will pick Death Blessing or a Repose Blessing. Let me see. Death and Repose. Playing some light weapon and shield combo, you might want to take Fire Blessing or Water Blessing or Protection Blessing for increased defense. Playing support like Warpriest, luck is great, nobility, healing blessing, all of those are great. High dexterity Warpriest, you switch your strength attributes for dexterity, you just exchange them. Here is 17-13, we're gonna change that for 13-17. So high dexterity Warpriest will take Liberation Blessing, for example, if you want to play with weapon finesse and daggers, and multi-class warpriest with a slayer or rogue, but that's now higher mathematics, we stick with bases. It is a bit complicated because you will need to perfectly merge background selection with attribute points followed by feats, deity, weapon of choice into alignment to get the blessing that you actually want, and to make it all work, of course, to unite all of it. I can showcase one build and explain how it works, so I hope I made it clear how you should play Warpriest. We go with strength for all of this you see here. Alignment is your choice, pick what you like the most. Other races now as champion of the Fate Warpriest. Dwarves, half-elves, half-orcs. We're just gonna stick with base versions and we copy the entire human build. Battle Dwarf also works well with this subclass. Aasimar, Lawbringer and Plume Kit work very fine here, and it is the way to go. After that we're gonna copy the entire human build. Lawbringer is for tanky Warpriest, Plume Kit is for a sneaky Warpriest, but you'll need to multi-class with Rogue or a Slayer and pick Pharasma and Daggers over here. Pharasma is a deity. Tiefling, Falspawn, again, rogue multi-class with evil deity, daggers. You got a lot of evil deities for daggers, high dexterity and some destruction blessing for the end. Hellspawn with fire blessing, sharp weapons, chaotic deity and alignment. For Hunger Seed and Motherless, we're gonna copy the entire human build. Orid, base, Orid and Iron Soul will work great here. They will be great if you want to mix with a monk, you know, mix Warpriest with a monk, then it's gonna be even better. Advanced stuff here, nothing you can do about it. Stick with bases, pick Orid, and go with a base build, human base build. Dhampir, Nosferatu Born is the only valid option here. You will pick Urgatoa or Arovagug for your deity over here. You will pick Sket or Great Axe as your favorite weapon, depends on the deity. Instead of Spontaneous Cure, you'll pick Spontaneous Inflict. And you're gonna pick Death as Blessing instead of Strength. Everything else, copy from human build. Possessed Shaman starting build. Hexes are the main things Shamans rely on. This subclass is able to form a bond with a spirit of choice to enhance her abilities and spells. It will also receive a spirit animal companion tied to the inner spirit of Shaman. Simple weapon proficiencies, light and medium armor proficiencies for this subclass. Possessed one is scaling hard from wisdom. We want to stay far away from battle with this subclass and control the battlefield with buffs and summons here. Choosing race, human, gnome, halfling, half-elf, half-orc, Aasimars, Kitsunes, they're all valid choices for Shaman. In this case, we start off with human. Best race to take for this subclass is Aasimar, by far. Background selection, Wanderer Nomad here is the only valid option. Allocating ability points, 10, 10, 10, 12, 19 and 60. Risky option is 8, 8, 10, 12, 20 and 16. Allocating skill points, we take Knowledge Arcana, Lore Nature, Lore Religion and Persuasion. Feats, we can have a lot of good ones here, but for this subclass we will take Spell Focus, Conjuration and Spell Focus, Transmutation. When you start receiving hexes as spells later on in the game for this subclass, you can consider taking Friend to Animals, Fortune, Aura of Purity, Secret. Into Extend, Meta Magic Feat, all of that will come later. Choosing Spirit, all of these spirits, they're absolutely great, and it's very hard to pick the right one. One of them has Stone Skin, other one has Elder Elemental, third one has Mass Bull Strength, and so on. You get the point. You get some, you lose some. Best spirits for Possessed subclass here are Battle, Life, and Nature, of course, cause we took Conjuration and Transmutation. If we took Evocation, for example, then it would be Flame, alright? Or Frost, or Wind. That's how it works. Remember, your spirit should be aligned with spell focus, not to mention elemental focus, fire for example, into evocation, into fire spirit. You get straight pure fire damage shaman. Elemental cold into evocation, into frost spirit, where's frost? Here, into frost spirit, and you have frozen shaman. Elemental focus, electricity into evocation, into wind spirit, and you have electro shaman. That's how this all works. In short, care what you're gonna take. Since we took, what did I say, Conjuration and Transmutation, we're gonna go for crowd control and support utility for this subclass. So, Nature Spirit, it is here. You're not wrong if you're gonna go with Life at all. That is, if your team needs a healer, you will pick Life. For this showcase, we pick Nature. For Spirit Animal, take the one who you like the most out of this. I'm gonna go with Dog because I think it's the best for this subclass. Now we're gonna pick Shared Skill. We're gonna take Persuasion and Lore Nature. For deity, for this subclass, it's Erastil or Gozreh, your choice who you wanna pick. Again, alignment completely your choice. Other races now as Possessed Shaman. Gnome, Halfling, Half-Elf, Half-Orc. We're gonna stick with base versions, and we're gonna copy the entire human build. Aasimar, base Aasimar, is just straight brain dead, completely crazy and OP for this possessed shaman build. Absolutely the best race you can take for this. Kitsune, if you wanna play cat shaman, then Kitsune base is the one you want to pick. Then we copy the entire human build. Leyline Guardian Witch, starting build. Witch class has a familiar, tons of spells and hexes as well as a patron, additional deity let's call it. This is a sorcerer witch, or better to say, this subclass will receive a lot of sorcerer spells combined with witch spells. Being a mix of a sorc and a witch, intelligence is replaced for charisma as the main stat. Leyline will empower your spells in many different ways as you level up. Choosing race, we need high intelligence, solid dexterity for this subclass. So, human, half-elf, half-orc, gnome, halfling, Aasimars, Dhampirs, tieflings, and kitsunes all apply for this role. For the background selection, we will pick regional Cadrian Wanderer. Allocating ability points 7, 14, 9, 20, 8, and 16. Allocating skill points, straight brain dead, we just pick all greens, Arcana, World, Nature, Perception, Persuasion, and use Magic Device. Feats. You can play as utility Leyline Guardian, then as a healer, as a summoner, as a necromancer, as a buffer, or as a pure damage dealing spellcaster. This varies a lot now from your feats, it all depends on your spell focus. For this showcase, we will pick Enchantment, and for the second feat, we're gonna pick Spell Focus Conjuration. Good feats to acquire are Spell Penetration, Abjuration, Necromancy, Evocation, Allied Spellcaster, Elemental Focus into specific element you want to deal damage with, Fire, Acid, Cold, or Electricity. Patron. It depends on what type of Leyline Guardian we want to play with. Let me explain in short. If you want to play as a spellcaster damage dealing evocation Leyline Guardian Witch or a base regular witch, then Winter and Devotion are good choices for a patron. If you want to play as a healer witch, then Healing Patron is the patron you're looking for. If you want to play with transmutation spells, then Transformation and Strength is what you're looking for. Agility is also a valid option here. And so on. That's how this works. For our case, as utility, enchantment, and conjurer, valid options are Strength, Mercy, Endurance, Devotion, and Ancestors. For this case, we will pick Ancestors, since it gives a lot of good AoE buffs for the entire team. We can only pick 2 spells for this subclass, so we're gonna take Summon Monster 1 for some early support and Snowball for some early damage. Deity and alignment, they're completely your choice, pick what you like the most, and off we go. Other races now, as Leyline Guardian Witch. For half-elf and half-orc, we're gonna stick with base, and we're gonna copy the entire human build. Gnomes and halflings, we can also stick with base, and we can apply the entire human build. For Gnome Pyromaniac, he can be played as a fire-based witch. We need Evocation and Elemental Focus Fire to make it work. Of course, your patron will also need to be changed for some fire patron. Aasimars, Emberkin is just straight great for this build. We're gonna apply all from human build after it, but you would need to change from enchantment and conjuring into evocation and fire for the Emberkin. If you wanna stick with conjuring, then Idilkin is the way to go because you receive a lot of summons. Tiefling, Beastbrood, and Spitespawn are valid options here. After that, we copy everything from human build. For Dhampir, Vetalaborn is the only valid choice, and after that we copy the entire human build. For Kitsune, both base Kitsune and Kin Kitsune are equally good here. After that we copy the entire human build. Enlightened Philosopher Oracle starting build. Imagine a Cleric, Paladin, Wizard, Druid, Sorcerer, Necromancer, Fighter, Rogue to mix and create one class. Well, that's what Oracle is. You can make them in hundreds of different ways, and there is no end to them, basically. I'll try to stay focused on a subclass name and give you the optimal build for it, but again, you can literally play Oracles in 1,000,000 different ways. Light and medium armor with simple weapon proficiencies is how you can play Oracle. This subclass should stay focused on buffing up the entire team with addition of healing spells. Revelation is specific thing to this subclass, but more about that later on. Choosing race. We're searching for high charisma here, so a lot of different races will apply for the role. Human, Gnome, Halfling, Half-Elf, Aasimars, Tieflings, Orids, Dhampirs, Kitsunes, they're all valid. We start with Human, and then we transfer to other races as well. Background selection under Diplomat, Orphan, Scholar, Historian, they're all valid here. We're gonna pick Diplomat. Attribute points, we want to stay far away with this subclass and heal. So 8, 8, 14, 14, 12 and 20. Getting skill points, we're gonna pick everything that's green and off we go. Feats, spell focus on Divination, Transmutation, Abjuration or Conjuration into Persuasive is a good start. So we can pick for the first feat here, let's go with Transmutation, and for the second feat we're gonna pick Persuasive. Oracle's Curses, we're gonna pick Blackened. Valid options to take are also Lame, Plagued and Powerless Prophecy. We stay with Blackened cause we like the penalty, we don't want to attack anyone with Oracle. For additional spells, of course, we're gonna pick Cure. And here we are at Mystery. For this subclass, Battle is great, Flame is solid, Life is good. We pick Nature as the best one. How does this all work? Waves if you pick cold feats, wind if you picked electricity, elemental focus into electricity, stone if you picked elemental focus acid, flame if you picked elemental focus fire, if you went with necromancy then it's bones, with transmutation then it's battle, alright, or nature, utility and support it's ancestor. I just absolutely hate making build guides for Oracle because of 1,000,000 options. I hope I made it clear how it all works. So, why did we took nature? Because of revelation. Battle cry, battle, nature, animal companion, nature, friend to animals. Skill at arms is phenomenal also, but we would need to change all feats and ability points to make it work. You will basically become a fighter with tons of spells if you pick skill at arms. Alright, there are a lot of them as you can see over here. Whenever you change your ability points, whenever you change your mystery, different ones will appear. Alright, for the one I picked and it's nature, we can take animal companion for free. Tons of revelations, most of them are good, but that also means hundreds of specific builds for this subclass. It's insane in other words, and I can only showcase one build. So, we're taking Animal Companion. Friend to Animals is also very good. I mean, everything is, you just need to decide what build you wanna play, right? Choosing spells, Bless and Summon Monster 1 are absolutely the best spells that you can take on level 1. Very cool spells to get later on is Divine Favor, Remove Fear and Remove Sickness. Diet in Alignment, they're completely your choice, pick whatever you like the most. Other races now as Enlightened Philosopher Oracle. For Gnome, Halfling and Half-Elf, we're gonna stick with base versions and we're gonna copy the entire human build. Aasimars, absolutely all Aasimars are valid here. I like Idilkin and Angelkin the most for this subclass. Emberkin is if you wanna deal damage with Oracle from afar, with fire, elemental focus fire into evocation. Lawbringer is if you wanna tank with your Oracle. Mustache is if you wanna shoot from afar and buff your allies with Oracle. After you decide what kind of Aasimar you wanna play, you just copy the entire human build. Tieflings, Beastbrood, Pitborn, Shackleborn, Spitespawn, they're all valid options. After that, we copy the entire human build. Orid, Gem Soul is absolutely great. Subrace, Heritage for this subclass. So after that, you're gonna copy the entire human build. Dhampir, Base Dhampir and Moroi-born Sweatasher are absolutely great. But you would need to change, instead of cure spells, to inflict. Instead of transmutation, you'll need necromancy. Your mystery should be bones, and so on. Kitsune. Only base Kitsune is valid here, and we copy the entire human build. Eldritch Scion Magus starting build. The most complicated subclass in the entire game, along with Crossblooded Sorcerer. This is a sorcerer subclass of Magus. He uses charisma instead of intelligence, like all other Magus subclasses. And I hate him because I'll need to make this build from scrap just for this subclass. Lower amount of spells with higher damage and bloodline selection is also a thing that differs from other subclasses. What also annoys me with this subclass, it's extremely good with at least 20 variations in races, classes, domains, spells, bloodlines and feats combos. Or better to say, million different ways of how you can play it. So, I cannot make a specific build and tell you to stick with it. I can offer one optimal build, explain you how everything works, and then you decide how you wanna play it. Remember, this is definitely the hardest subclass to play and master in the game, but I also believe it's the strongest class slash subclass that exists in the game. So we're gonna do it the old-fashioned way here. We're gonna talk about every bloody combination, and I'll try to teach you how this entire mechanic works, cause this class really deserves so. We start with choosing race. We're searching for high dexterity and high charisma. Human, Gnome, Halfling, Half-Elf, Tiefling, Beastbrood and Spitespawn, Dhampir, Base and Classic Dhampirs, Muse-touched and Angelkin Aasimars. They all work here. We're gonna start with human, then we go through the all other races as well. Background selection. Regional Diplomat, Nexian Scholar, Historian, Cadrian Wanderer in Regional, Varisian Explorer, Daredevil, Sheckless Corsair, and Linorm Kings. All of those are great to take. For this subclass, we're gonna pick Daredevil. Allocating ability points. I would go for a full risk here with 7, 16, 16, 7, 7, and 20. This is an unfair build, by the way. Reason is very simple. This is one of the most offensive classes in the game. You want to burst as fast as you can. How you do it? With risking starting attribute points. How you do it in a game? You apply all possible buffs. You trigger buffs on your melee weapon, or better to say, you prepare a melee attack, then you open up with a long range spell into a freaking melee attack for a maximum amount of burst damage. You will have a chance to do it for at least 2 rounds until enemies react. By then they should be all dead, because this class hurts the most, this subclass, out of all subclasses. Those that don't like to risk, we're gonna go with 14, 14, 14, 10, 10 and 18. I like high risk and high reward. You decide how you wanna play this, we're gonna stick with this one. Allocating skill points. We only got 2 points because we risked a lot with intelligence, okay? And we don't need the others, to be honest, so we're gonna take mobility and persuasion. Feats. Buckle up, this is gonna be a long explanation of how the entire Magus class, or better to say Eldritch Scion subclass, works. I'll cover everything there is about Magus with this build. For the first feat, Weapon Finesse is a no-brain, it's a must. And for the second feat, we could take Evocation or any other spell focus that goes with Abjuration, Conjuration or Enchantment. But there are a million combinations here, and this is where we need to take a different and a bit more detailed approach. Your feats will depend a lot from your bloodline over here. So let's start and I'll try to give a few examples. For this specific build of Weapon Finesse and Evocation, we can take Arcane Bloodline, or on a level up, if we decide to go into Elemental Focus Fire, for example, over here, alright, we can go with a red or golden dragon. Great choice to take if you went with Elemental Focus Fire is also Elemental Bloodline Fire. Do you see that we already have 4 builds, 4 different builds, just for fire? And there are at least 4 more builds for fire. This is why I say that this subclass, or better to say the entire Magus class, is just way too freaking complex, especially for beginners. But what can you do? Let's continue explaining everything. If we decided to go with Elemental Focus Acid, for example, we would take a green dragon, or we would take Elemental Bloodline Earth. If we decided to go with Cold Elemental Focus, we would take Elemental Bloodline Water, or we would take a Blue Dragon. Have in mind that I'm still talking only about Evocation. We got 7 more spell focus things left, from Abjuration to Transmutation. If we took, for example, Necromancy over here instead of Evocation, so we went with Spell Focus and Necromancy, then we would take Undead Bloodline. And it would merge very well with Dampier. And then you can become a Lech. Okay, a Lech. Again, 1 million combinations, alright. If we, for example, choose in races here Gnome Pyromaniac, he gives a lot of fire, then we could go with Fire, Fire into Elemental Bloodline, Fire all into Infernal Bloodline, alright? If we took Transmutation over here, where Evocation is, or Conjuration, then we would take Fey Bloodline or Serpentine Bloodline. I just gave few examples. There are hundreds of different combinations. I hope I made it clear how all of this works. Eldritch Scion Magus, along with a Crossblooded Sorcerer, is the hardest subclass to make in the game. Not to mention to make a perfect build once you start leveling up with mythic pets and with multiclassing and so on. Just when you add those mythic pets and multiclassing, your head is gonna burst. Alright. So, I'm sorry, but that's how it is with this subclass. At least we cleared some things here, and I tried my best to explain how the entire Magus system works. So, for our build here, to make it short now, we take Weapon Finesse, Evocation, and for our bloodline we can pick Arcane. There are at least 5 more bloodlines that merge well with this. Arcane Bond. If you think we're done, you're wrong. There is more, of course, there's always more with this subclass. Animal Companion or a bond with object here. You should bind with object if you know what you're doing. If not, the safest way is to pick Animal Companion. I would pick a lizard because of a natural armor bonus to armor class. Absolutely all of these pets are valid, pick what you like. Now we got Bloodline class skill selection. I already explained how it works. For this case we won't have skill points, you know, so it doesn't matter what we pick here, pick world. It really doesn't matter. Choosing spells, we can only take 2 spells. Now have in mind, because we took Arcane Bloodline, we will receive magic missiles for free. If we took some other bloodline, we would receive some other spells for free. Care what you pick for your spells, cause you do not want to duplicate them and you want to receive those bonuses from bloodlines. Alright, check the bonuses for every bloodline. Do not be lazy. So, this is the best early spell that you can take in the game, Magic Missiles, but we do not take it, we already have it. Alright, what we're gonna take here can be True Strike, so we can actually hit someone with melee. And we can take Burning Hands for some AoE damage. Choosing Deity now. You can take whatever you like. Deity doesn't matter at all. All that matters for this class, subclass, is Bloodline. We're gonna pick Calistria. Valid options are Kaiden Salian, Lamatsu, Norgober, Saran Rhea. Pick what you like. Same goes with alignment. At one point in the game, you will receive your most important upgrades on every 3 levels or so. Magus Arcana upgrades, to call them. You got 1 million options here again, and Magus is the most complicated class for a reason. Good one to take are Arcane Accuracy, Dimension Strike, Empowered Magic, Enduring Blade, Extend Magic, and Hasted Assault. Alright. If you decided to follow my advice and take a full risk with high dexterity and intelligence, then Hasted Assault will scale like crazy in the early game and onwards. We're gonna take that one first. Other races now is Eldritch Scion. For Elf, Halfling, Half-Elf, Half-Orc, and Gnomes, we will stick with base versions, and then we're gonna copy the entire human build. Gnomes can also be played as Pyromaniacs, and I already explained in this build how they work, through Bloodlines. For Tiefling, we can go with Beastbrute or Spitespawn, and then we're gonna copy everything from the human build. For Dhampir, the only good and valid option would be classic base version of Dhampir. You might want to consider him to be a necromancy feat, and then we copy the entire human build. His arcane bloodline will change to death instead of arcane. For Aasimars, we can take Muse Touched or Angelkin, and then we copy it all from human. For Angelkin, it might be good to take Celestial Bloodline. Again, there are 1 million options for this subclass. And just so we make clear, there are around 10 subclasses in this game that are extremely hard to balance out and comprehend for beginners. This subclass is one of them, if not the hardest one that exists. Stay away from it or pick easier difficulties if you really like it and you want to test it out. I did my best to explain how all of this works. After all, I released 200 builds for all classes and subclasses in this game. Pick one and have fun. Scroll Savant, starting build for Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. This subclass likes Knowledge World, Knowledge Arcana, Lore Nature, Lore Religion, and use Magic Device for class skills and conversation skill checks. Why use Magic Device? You need use Magic Device always to the max when you level up with skills. If you want to be able to cast all scrolls without failure. This is a scroll casting base wizard after all. It's called Scroll Savant. You can't use armor, you're solid with ranged weapons and great with a Quarterstaff. What we receive here are 0 spells, or better to say, cantrips for free, huge boost when we cast spells from scrolls, detect magic of course, and a pet, or better to say, a familiar. Trick with this class is a starting school. If you don't pick one, you will become Universalist, but you will lose all boosts. A bit more about that later on. Race for Scroll 7. Human Elf or Kin Kitsune is the way to go. And here I would pick Elf. For racial heritage, we're gonna stick with base Elf. Background selection. Regional, Underrun Diplomat, Shalexian Diabolist, Nexian Scholar, Osirian Historian are the way to go. We're gonna pick Nexian Scholar for this build. Ability scores, allocate ability points. For those that like to play it safe, we'll roll with 10, 12, 12, 18, 10, and 16. We're using Charisma because of use Magic Device. We're gonna cast a lot of spells with scrolls. For those that like to risk, we will go with 8, 12, 8, 20, 10, and 16. Again, big Charisma because of use Magic Device for Scroll 7. From skills, just take all that is green and you're good to go. Just remember that use Magic Device is the most important thing for this subclass. Always max it out when you can. Feats. And now this is a mess. There are at least 5 good ones for the start, and of course, classic Greater Spell Focus Evocation. Skill Focus, use Magic Device is great for the start. Spell Penetration is great. Empower is solid, of course. Combat Casting is very solid too. But we shall stick with safe choice. Spell Focus, Evocation. How we say next? Now, this is the thing that's specific to Scroll 7's subclass. The school. Okay. If you picked Evocation in feats, we pick Evocation here. If you picked, I don't know, for example, Divination starting feats, you'll pick Divination Specialist School. We stick with Evocation in this case. Universalist is solid for advanced players because it offers Extend, Quicken, Maximize and Empower for free. It's probably the best option if you know what you're doing and how to play and conserve spells during combat. Of course, it will depend on the difficulty you're playing on too. I plan to go on Unfair multiple times and I'll stick with Evocation. Arcane Bond. If you know what you're doing, you'll pick Arcane Bond with an object. Because you won't profit out of perception from familiars. You won't level up perception on skills. You'll get that point into use Magic Device skill point. Best familiar to take is a duck, but we're gonna go with Arcane Bond here. From Opposition School, we'll remove Transmutation and Illusion. Spells now. We take damage and we focus on Evocation, Burning Hands for AoE, Ear-Piercing Scream for long range, Flare Burst for some light magic missiles as the best starting spells in the game, Shocking Grasp when someone gets close, Snowball for long range crowd control, Summon Monster for more bodies on the field, and True Strike to boost your melee companions to actually hit something on the battlefield. Valid spells to take instead of Summon Monster and True Strike are Stone Fist and Protection from Alignment. Mage Armor is also very good. In the end, it's your choice. Deity, only one choice. It will be Netius because of the Quarterstaff. Now, whether you wanna be good or evil, it's entirely your choice. Pick what you like the most.